So last week, I caught up for coffee with one of our subscribers in Sydney, Chuck, shout out to you. And he asked me to walk him through the story of how I went from being a corporate lawyer to now being a creative entrepreneur. Like, it's such a strange journey. He really wanted to know exactly how I went from zero to where I am right now. And so I had a deeper think about it, and I wanted to use this video to explain my journey from the very start all the way to where I am right now, so that you guys might be able to draw some insights, observations that you might be able to apply in your own life. So my sort of, entrepreneurial journey started back in the summer of 2017. I was in my second last year of university. I was in law school, and I scored myself a summer internship at one of the big four, working in their legal division. My plan during that summer was to knock that internship out of the park so that I could score myself a graduate position nice and early before I finished university. That meant that by the time I graduated, I didn't have to worry about finding a full-time job, and instead I could use that time to take a gap year and do some traveling and explore some other interests that I may have. Now, during that summer, that was the period when I actually started also reading books. And one really life-changing book that I read during that period was a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And this was the book that really started shifting my way of thinking, because up to that point before reading that book, my mindset to work and my career was more of a traditional employee mindset. As an employee, you are trading your time for money, and because you only have 24 hours in a day, your earning capacity is always going to be capped. Compared to if you adopt more of an entrepreneurial business owner mindset, rather than trading your time for money, you're learning more creative ways of adding value to society in exchange for money. And up to that point, starting my own business was always something of a dream or a bucket list item of mine, but it was at that point more so just a dream. But reading this book really kind of started turning the cogs in terms of how I was thinking about the world and where I could sort of apply that more entrepreneurial mindset. And so during this time, I was still working in my internship, and I was starting to earn, a bit of money from working full time during the summer. And during that time, I came across this online course that taught people how to start an online course business. And I remember I was super nervous at the time because I'd never invested that much money into myself. But, I had some spare savings now that I was working the internship. So I just decided, you know what, let's go for it. I've always wanted to start my own business. Let's just buy this course and see what I can learn. From Monday to Friday during that summer, I was going to the internship, and then after work and on the weekends, I'd just be consuming and applying this course. And in the course, we had to do an exercise to kind of brainstorm what our interests could be, which we could potentially then turn into sort of a business. And I remember I came to the conclusion that I was going to start an online cooking class. So coming to the start of 2018, by the end of the summer, my internship was coming to an end. I did a great job, and the company offered me a full-time graduate position. With the pressure of securing a graduate position lifted off my shoulders, I decided I was also going to use my last semester of university to just get the best grades as possible so I could graduate with honors, and at the same time use my spare time to start working on my online business. And I started adopting the daily practice of waking up at 6 a.m. and doing 4 hours of really deep work in the morning, which was just all study. So from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. I just studied for uni, and after those 4 hours I could then use the rest of the day to work on my sort of entrepreneurial endeavors. And so with the online cooking class, in order to kind of generate interest for this product, I had to learn how to generate traffic. And so I started a cooking blog where I could share my recipes and cooking tips with people on the internet. During this period, I didn't make any money with the online cooking course idea, but I was able to learn a lot of things along the way, such as how to build a website, how to start an email newsletter, how to create lead magnets, and also I started dabbling a little bit into photography because I had to take some nicer photos for the cooking blog using my dad's old DSLR camera. And for the first time in my life, it really felt like I was just trying to learn these things because I was genuinely curious about it. It wasn't for grades, it wasn't for status, it wasn't for parents, it was purely just for me following my natural curiosity and learning things that interested me. And so by June 2018, I graduated from law school and I embarked on my gap year. I kickstarted my gap year by going to Russia with Jason and another one of my good friends from high school, Saddam, where we watched the FIFA World Cup. That was an awesome time. We were in the stadium when Russia beat Spain on penalties, and the whole of Moscow went crazy that night. And after the World Cup, Jason flew back home because he had uni, and I ended up backpacking around Europe with my high school friends for the next 3 months. We went to amazing places like Norway, Italy, Prague, London. It was a really tiring trip because we were backpacking all the way, but it was really, really fun. My graduate position was secured, my uni was finished, I didn't have a job at the time, and I had a good amount of savings accumulated from working part-time during uni. So this was a period where I felt very free because I could just travel without sort of any shackles holding me back at home. And if any of you guys are watching this who are still in university, I really encourage you to take this time in your life to go do some traveling. It really helps broaden your perspective and give you some really unique life experiences. So after 3 months of intense backpacking around Europe, we came home around September 2018, and the friends that I went traveling with, they kind of immediately got started working in their full-time jobs because there was not really anything much else to do. And at the time, I remember my mom encouraging me to also ask my company whether I could start my job a little bit earlier because I was scheduled to start February the following year, which was in about 4 or 5 months' time. I said no because I knew that I had my whole life in front of me to work a 9 to 5. So I wanted to really use this remaining 4 to 5 months to explore some other interests, entrepreneurial ideas that I had. I tried to start a resume writing business where I got my friend to actually help me print out flyers listing out my services, and I would later drop them in houses around the university in my local area. I also started going to a lot of garage sales with my sister to try and flip items on eBay. We actually did pretty well with the iPod shuffles. We would actually buy them for about $30 at garage sales and on Facebook Marketplace, and then resell them for about $150, $180 on eBay. At the same time, I was also working on continuing to grow my cooking blog. And in the process of trying to grow this cooking blog, I thought that, hey, it would be pretty cool to add videos to teach these recipes at the same time. And so that's when I approached Jason with the idea of starting a YouTube channel for the cooking blog. He was down for it, and he ordered a secondhand camera from eBay, and we started this cooking channel called Simple Cookery. And during this period, that's when we started learning how to make these fun home cooking videos for YouTube. And this really started piquing our interest in photography and videography. That remaining 4 to 5 months of my gap year was really fun because I got to experiment with a lot of things, but it was time to make some actual money. And so in February 2019, I started my first full-time job as a lawyer. For the first sort of 5 to 6 months, I was really focused on doing well at my 9 to 5 and just learning to kind of get into the rhythm of actually working a 9 to 5. But I remember after about 6 months, I started feeling a little bit stuck, like I was kind of doing the same things every day, and the days and the weeks would kind of be flying by so quickly. And I really was looking for something else in my life, something where I could maybe express myself creatively and think outside the box. And during this time, one of my good friends from primary school, he was actually getting married. He was telling me about the wedding photographer that he had hired because he knew that at the time I was getting into a little bit of photography and videography. And he told me that him and his fiance had paid about $3,500 for this photographer to come on their wedding day and photograph their wedding. And I remember when I heard this, I almost fell back in my chair because I was like, wow, $3,500 to photograph one day, like that would be awesome if I could do that in the future. And sort of in conversation, he kind of just told me about how much their wedding was going to cost and that they didn't have the budget to hire a wedding videographer. And because at the time we were filming these fun cooking videos for YouTube, I thought, I can kind of learn how to use a camera and take videos. So I just offered to film his wedding for free. And on the wedding day, I got to shadow this amazing wedding photographer and kind of see how he works from start to finish. And I actually got talking to him, and I remember him telling me that he actually also used to be a lawyer for I think 4 to 5 years before he decided to make the transition into becoming a full-time photographer. How cool would it be if one day I could sort of transition into being my own boss and doing this full-time? So meeting this photographer was the thing that really sparked that idea in my head that, it really is possible to make that transition from the corporate world into sort of being your own boss and running your own business. I then kind of spoke with Jason and said, hey, you know what? Let's just go out and start practicing our skills. That was the period from June 2019 to about December 2019 when we would kind of start reaching out to local businesses in our area every weekend and offering to do free shoots to practice and hone in on our skills. Once we started getting a few paid gigs by the end of 2019, we started our brands. So RZ Media for our corporate work and RZ Weddings for our wedding work. The side hustle just gradually grew from there. It started from a few $100s to a few thousand and then to even tens of thousands. And so by the end of 2021, the side hustle kind of got to a point where the income I was earning from the side hustle was pretty much equaling the salary I was earning from my 9-to-5 job. And that's the point where I decided to transition from my 9-to-5 into full-time entrepreneurship. And so with my story in mind, I wanted to kind of share with you guys a few key takeaways that I think you guys might find useful. Number one is if you have sort of dreams and aspirations of one day running your own business, don't focus on the short-term money. Rather, focus on following your natural curiosity and exploring things that genuinely interest you. In that last semester of uni, when I was kind of experimenting with my online cooking class idea, I didn't make any money during that time, but I was just exploring my genuine interest in building websites, learning content creation, and learning those skills really set me up later on when I actually started a business that started making money. The next point is don't be afraid to invest money in yourself, even if it might not work. During the summer of 2017, 2018, I spent $1,500 on an online course, which at the time for a second year uni student, that was a lot of money for me at the time, but I invested it anyway without really knowing whether it was going to work out. I didn't actually end up running an online cooking class business, but it did sort of pique my interest in content creation, which I then later on turned into a business. So oftentimes when you invest in yourself, one thing might lead to another, which might then lead you to the actual thing that you end up pursuing. As Steve Jobs says, you can't really connect the dots looking forward, you can only connect the dots looking backwards. And if I hadn't have spent that $1,500 on that online course, I wouldn't have started my cooking blog. And if I didn't start my cooking blog, I wouldn't have started that YouTube channel. And without that YouTube channel, we wouldn't have started gaining an interest in photography and videography. And my final point is to find people who you want to become in 3 to 5 years' time. For me, that was meeting that wedding photographer at my friend's wedding, who also used to be a lawyer and made a similar transition that I was looking to make. So find people who are on a similar path to you and who have reached a point that you want to also get to, because then you can learn from their success and failures. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, guys. It was a bit more of a rambly video today, but I hope that you found the story insightful and useful, and hopefully you can use some of the points that I mentioned in this video and apply it in your own life. If you found this video valuable, make sure to give it a like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell button if you want to get notified every time we post a new video. On this channel, we talk about filmmaking, self-development, and entrepreneurship, which are the 3 things that we're passionate about. If you're also interested, we also have an email newsletter, link in the description box down below. If you have any questions, feel free to just always reach out to us at jonoandjason@gmail.com or just DM us on Instagram. If you ever just want to catch up for a coffee or a Zoom chat, just let us know. We'll be more than happy to meet up. Anyways, guys, thank you again, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.